to Hope Pod. This is our final session in this series, and you can see we are on our Christmas special today.
In September. It's really hot. It's really hot.
You're not supposed to tell them we're in September.
Yeah. The hottest day in September, and we're in Christmas jumpers. Keep going.
Jim is really excited about this episode. You'll see if you're watching on YouTube that we're here in our Christmas jumpers or hats. Yeah. I've got my Happy Birthday Jesus Christmas jumper on. Jim, what are you wearing today?
I've got the hottest jumper known to man. It's polyester Star Wars Christmas jumper.
Star Wars.
And a hat.
Very, very Christian festive there with your Star Wars.
We need this podcast to go quickly because I'm going to sweat and faint.
Good to see you being professional there, Jim. Damien?
This is my jumper bought by my in-laws, Mike and Patsy. Thank you, Mike and Patsy. But I have put weight on since they bought it for me, so it's a little bit tight.
Oh, right, yeah. That's a lockdown side effect, that, isn't it, really? Getting us ready, I think, for Christmas and kind of long nights by the fire with... couple of mince pies. You a mince pie fan, Jono?
Yeah, I'm partial to mince pie.
Yeah. Partial to mince pie.
To know I'm partial to mince pie.
Or two or three,
Or two or three, yeah.
Warm with cream, I like mine. Has to be warm with cream.
Oh, yes.
Covered in cream.
Cream, not ice cream?
Oh, yeah, both if you want.
Oh, nice. Great.
I'm so hot. Can we get on with the topic? Let's keep going.
So, Christmas is the time of traditions. So I just wanted to ask first off, what's your favourite Christmas tradition, Jono?
My favourite Christmas tradition is probably digging out all the 70s comedy that seems to be shown at Christmas time. So all the old like Morecambe and Wise Christmas specials, Only Fools and Horses, all that kind of stuff that I would never sit down and watch any other time of the year. But somehow in the run up to Christmas or that week, that funny week between kind of Christmas and New Year where you don't quite know what to do with yourself, having a good giggle at Morecambe and Wise.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Damien?
Christmas, for me, actually, I don't look forward to it, to be honest. It's always so busy and so tense and stressed out. But I look forward to that period after Christmas, between New Year and Christmas. I guess it's just being a church minister. It just, that you get distracted by the stuff of church. And I'm aware of that, and I should focus on Jesus. But my mistake is I get so focused on the stuff around it. So I'm interested to talk about this today. It'd be interesting to look at traditions and things.
Yeah. How about you, Jim? What's your favourite Christmas tradition?
Well, there's food, presents, but I do love a good carol. That's probably,
Christmas carol, good sing.
Christmas carol, not a lass called Carol.
Only the good ones.
Good Christmas carol.
Nice.
Yeah, to sing.
Nice. My favourite thing is we still, in my house, even though we've got teenagers, we still do the carrot out for Rudolph, glass of Baileys for Santa, although we do realise that might be encouraging drink driving, so we kind of skim over that, and a mince pie, and we still pretend it, we still play the Father Christmas.
What do you mean?
And we put it all out for him, and then we wait in the morning to see if he's been, don't we?
Does Jim get quite excited about it? I can tell
I get to drink the Baileys. That's
yeah. So Christmas is a time of traditions. Here in our podcast today, we are looking at it through the lens of the vision from Blackburn Diocese about unlocking, like we've been doing over the last few weeks, last few episodes of this podcast series. So thinking about lament, what have we lost over the last 18 months or so? Thinking about what we are thankful for, what have maybe been the surprises along the way that felt like maybe gifts from God, but also the missional opportunities going forward. How are we changed by the experiences that we've had as church over the last 18 months? And so how do we move forward with a positive, hopeful message of Jesus into our communities as we are today? So as we've already begun, we've already heard from you, Jono. You're our guest today. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Jono. I'm married to Amy, and we are living at the minute in Heysham. So I work part-time at St Thomas's Church in Lancaster. I oversee all things kind of musical and technical there. And I also work part-time for Christians Against Poverty, running our local debt centre.
That's brilliant. So great to have you with us, Jono. And so as a music coordinator at your church, Christmas must be quite a busy time at church for you. But obviously last year, it all sort of changed, didn't it? And we really had to rethink how we were going to do Christmas. How was that for you? You know, were there things that you lamented that you loved to do at Christmas that actually last year meant that you couldn't do them? What did you miss?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, well, a massive thing that I'm sure many of us missed across the pandemic in the life of our churches was being able to sing together, being able to lift our voices together. I know for some people, singing's like the thing that you love to do and you dream of and you like it, and for other people, it's like the bit of the service where you go, oh, I really don't like singing, or I don't like my voice, or whatever. But I think there's something really powerful that happens in a space when people gather together and sing, and that just wasn't possible at all last year. I suppose we were in a fairly fortunate position where we could take a lot of our stuff online. So we did put together a kind of Carols by Candlelight style service that was all kind of recorded in COVID's kind of appropriate measures, and we had a kind of pre-recorded video talk and a couple of kind of performance pieces and a few carols, and so we were able to feel a little bit Christmassy, but it definitely wasn't the same as people gathering together kind of with one voice. And I think as I've reflected back over the pandemic, that's been something that I think a lot of people have really missed, and not just kind of trivially, oh, it was nice when we could sing, wasn't it? But I actually feel like there's a deep part of their actual kind of spiritual walk and spiritual journey and relationship with God almost that suffered as a result of not being able to sing together. So my thought would be that a lot of people this year for Christmas, assuming that restrictions allow, which is another question, who knows quite where we'll be in a few months' time, but assuming that we're on the trajectory that we are now, that we may be able to have, whether an absolutely packed building, but some people in to sing together.
Yeah. How about for you, Damien? What was Christmas like for you last year? You mentioned before Christmas is normally something you perhaps don't look forward to because it's so busy.
Yeah.
How was that different for you in your parish?
It was sad actually, because every Christmas Day in the last couple of years we've been doing a Christmas Day community dinner for anybody who lives in a community who would otherwise be on their own and would be aware that around them are families enjoying special times together, but they are just sat on their own at home. So we've been bringing people together into our community centre hall for a full works, full Christmas dinner, all the trimmings, about 30 people, lots of helpers from church making it possible. So I really miss that because I miss being with them, ministering to them and sharing Christmas Day with them, because we didn't do that last Christmas. We did take some food out to the community for those who wanted, but it wasn't the same. So I really miss that. And I'm looking forward to doing that again this Christmas, hopefully. And I suppose our worship over Christmas was just radically different. We had reduced numbers, we had more services to make sure we could get the same people in that would normally come, but over multiple occasions. So it was okay, but I'm really looking forward to this Christmas.
Yeah. And like you said before, Jim, one of your favourite things about Christmas is singing a good carol. Yeah. There is something about coming together, isn't there? And we come together as families, don't we? And of course, that was something we couldn't do last year. How was that for you?
Yeah, odd.
What do you lament?
So, we would normally go and see, or they would come to us, my family from down south. And it was the first year since day dot that I didn't see my parents and my brothers and sister-in-laws and nieces and nephews around the Christmas period. Which was really odd, because it was a couple of months later when we actually, whatever it was, May or whatever, that we actually travelled to see them. And that was a bit numbing actually at that time, to not be able to see family for us, just because it was such a long journey to do. So just a bit weird, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think as we lament these things, it's interesting, isn't it, to recognise what is really important to us, and the things that are important to us are the things that we miss, aren't they? And I think through this whole process and all the podcasts episodes that we've done in this series, there's lots of things that keep coming to the surface, aren't they? And they are things like a sense of togetherness, a sense of being community, and Christmas, I think, is probably one of those seasons where we feel most like family, don't we? Whether that's in our own family units and extended family, or like you've said, Damien, whether it's coming together with others who would otherwise be on their own, and kind of coming together like church family or a community family, singing together, connecting with one another. It's probably the time of year that musically, Jono might agree, that we agree on what we want to sing, because we all want to sing carols and might sing them in different ways, but you know, there is something about us coming together as the church family over Christmas, and the fact that we lament those things helps us to recognise the importance of them, doesn't it? And but I wonder, you know, in this one kind of year that we've had, this Christmas that we've had last year, were there other things that were a bit surprising that we want to give thanks for? I don't know, is there anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think
for you, Jono?
Something that I think we can be at risk of in church is, particularly for those that kind of lead different ministries within church, is kind of doing Christmas right, or having this kind of pressure that we need to give people the Christmas they deserve. It's got to be almost better than last year. Or, and we can sometimes just be, as Damien's already hinted towards, you know, it becomes such a busy programme and so fixated on kind of making sure everything's really polished or slick, or we've got enough candles, or there's all these kind of other little details to make sure that Christmas is perfect, because it would somehow be a total disaster if it wasn't. And I think last year just relieved in some ways a lot of that pressure, because we knew whatever we did, it wasn't going to be the Christmas that people, you know, were expecting almost.
Yeah.
And so it gave a bit more time, particularly for us, because we pre-recorded a lot of our Christmas, so our carol service was done kind of weeks before it actually went live. Yeah. So in the run up to Christmas, there was a few really cool things that started happening. So we had a real cluster of people in our community do some stuff to raise funds and food for the local food bank, and there was a real amazing kind of coming together of that. We on our street, we decided to do a little Zoom kind of carol sing Christmas song stuff. So I set my piano up in our front room, set
Brilliant.
the laptop up. We printed some invites, put them through every letterbox on our street. It's about 50, 60 houses. We very rarely speak to any neighbours other than our immediate neighbours. And we had 5, 6 screens. And we like kind of logged on, no idea who was going to come. And then just different people started appearing. And it was kind of like so-and-so's iPhone. And then we were saying, oh, so what number are you? Oh, so you're down the road. And then there's people that we have connected with and had a laugh with, and people wearing their hats and mulled wine. And like, it was just an amazing way. And there was no way in a kind of more regular Christmas that in the week running up to Christmas, I'd have been able to set an evening aside with all my instruments, get it all set up, have the time and capacity to actually do that. And that just felt like a real gift. And I kind of was just reflecting, you know, not what's more worthwhile, because it's all really worthwhile, but in a sense of actually connecting with people who maybe wouldn't otherwise connect with church, and offering something of the hope of what Christmas represents to them. It felt like such a worthwhile thing to do. And I just think it'd be such a shame if that kind of thing got lost as a result of us trying to put back on a polished, you know, the Christmas that all our kind of faithful people in the congregation kind of are expecting. And that's not to say we kind of skimp out on Christmas by any means, but I think that there is a sense in which it's important, as you say, like, look at what we gained and the opportunities that we gained, and kind of think, do we really need to spend the amount of hours kind of ironing out every detail of this very precise service, or are there other things that we can use that time to really do to reach people in the community who really need to hear about Jesus at this time?
Yeah, that sounds like a really fun thing to do with your neighbours, actually. Yeah. And I wonder if I would have that pre-party nerves. You know, when you kind of send the invitations out and think, I hope people are going to come.
Yeah.
Or it's not just me and one person.
It was really interesting. We were at a friend's wedding a few weeks ago. This lady randomly came up to us and she said, oh, I live at number 29. I joined your Christmas group. And we were thinking, I didn't really recognise it because she had a Christmas hat on and the camera was slightly blurry and stuff. Sure. So it kind of took me a minute. I thought, oh, yeah, she was like, oh, we're doing it again this year. And so that was just an incredible encouragement. Even in September, you know, 8 months later, at a wedding, totally out of context, there's that kind of that's been built, which is really cool. That's brilliant. Yeah.
That's amazing. Maybe that's a new tradition.
Yeah. Could well be.
Yeah. How about for you, Damien? Was there any like surprises, positive things that came out of it for you?
I think I mentioned at the beginning that, you know, I often find Christmas too busy, too distracting. But what was special this last Christmas was that sense of Emmanuel, God being with us in a time of isolation, When that word isolation, we've never used it as much as the last 18 months, have we? Isolation, loneliness. And to actually have that sense of, well, Christmas is when we remember God's presence being near us. And that was just so refreshing.
Yeah.
To have that, it just spoke louder. That word Emmanuel spoke louder than ever before to think, even for that person on their own, maybe the widow who's lost her husband, whose family live away, even for that one lady on her own with nobody around, God is with her.
Wow.
And that was just deep of its last Christmas than ever before, really.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
It is incredible, isn't it, that at a time where people were isolated and alone, to be able to give out the message as church to say, you're not alone, God's with you, we're praying for you, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I think for me, I was really encouraged in seeing a lot of new faces come forward for different things. So for pre-recorded things, there were people that sang on some of the stuff that we recorded that I'd never seen sing before, and it was like a bit of an eye-opening. Oh wow, this is brilliant! And because it wasn't in person, it's almost a little bit deeper in terms of, as I watched and listened, you took it in more. For me personally, because I think I was craving a bit of Christmassy stuff. It was really interesting to see people come forward, and I think there were opportunities. Christmas is a great opportunity to invite people, like inviting people to come and sing carols. Everyone loves singing a carol. Maybe not everyone, but most people at least know carols and would like to sing on. And I think having that opportunity to invite people, not necessarily to cross the threshold of the building and come in, which we've talked about in past episodes as well, but just to log on or to watch something that's been shared. Ian, on episode 4, we talked about the nativity that we did, and just being able to share that and send it out and let it do its thing on social media is a really quite incredible tool to spread the hope and the story and the message behind Christmas that we always want to do every single year. The point that we would want to be have a polished and well-rounded services, that perhaps there are people coming in that only come into this building once a year. That's why we'd want it to be as good as possible. And families that come to visit and they come along to church. So we've always thought of Christmas as this great opportunity, but actually in a world of social media, it's way more than just the amount of people that you can fit into this building, isn't it, sometimes? Yeah. And I think I was impressed and had my eyes open a little bit to what that can do outside of putting all your effort into 1 or 2 or 3 services on a certain day at a certain time.
We had a moment where we did an outdoor carol service in the car park, and we'd never thought that before. Yeah. But we were forced to do it because we wanted to get about 110 people together. I think that's what came in the end. We were hoping for about 50, but 110 came in the car park. The weather was okay. It was a bit chilly, but it was great. And I think we'll do it again. And that's something I'm really thankful for. To think actually we'd never have thought of that before. Yeah. But it was like a street party. We had neighbours who live across the road who just came to the front of their drive and just joined in. Wow. And that was wonderful. We'd never thought that before,
Yeah, and there really was a lot of creativity, wasn't there, in a kind of, there was a new energy to the level of creativity, I think, wasn't there, certainly from what I've seen, both online, and things like you say, Damien, of doing things outdoors to celebrate Christmas, whilst at the same time having that rich sense of God with us in this really, what felt like quite a dark season, didn't it? It's dark because the weather's dark. We'd had that beautiful summer, hadn't we, where it had been, lockdown had felt a little bit like a holiday for some of us, for others really, just a very, very heavy time right through. But once the winter months set in and we realised, this is here for a long time, we're not going to, we're in this lockdown season for a long time. The days are short, it was cold, we couldn't meet friends so much in outdoor spaces. It did feel very dark, didn't it? And so that message, the hope of Christmas, of God with us in Jesus, I think did resonate maybe with more of us. It sort of stood out more, didn't it? So the ways in which we were creative were really centred around Jesus. And that's what it should be at Christmas, shouldn't it? It shouldn't be distracting with lots of noise and chaos, although sometimes the fun is in those things, isn't it? But I wonder if, Christmas is a season of traditions, isn't it? And we have been through this whole process of change that's been so long. And I wonder if in part of us, really, I admit there's a little part of me that thinks, I'm really looking forward to this Christmas because I know how to do Christmas. And it will be just easy to slip back into the traditions of what we've always done and perhaps lose some of the things that we've learnt, some of those treasures from last Christmas that we've discovered. And I just wonder, what are the missional opportunities? What hope do we bring into this Christmas that we've rediscovered maybe in some way last year? How are we going to bring that hope in continually fresh ways this Christmas? Is that part of our thinking, do you think, this year? Or are we feeling a bit tired and ready for something familiar? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think at one level, the church generally, in living memory, has never had a better, more natural opportunity to kind of reset and rethink, and never had a better excuse to drop stuff that actually everyone's been wanting to drop for years, and actually because it rolls around again, it's just never been it's always felt like one battle too many, or if we're honest. And actually I think what the pandemic has done is given a kind of reset, particularly with there being a Christmas that's been out of routine, to actually say, well, do we have to bring everything back, or is there something that we can perhaps lay down that was needing to be laid down? So I suppose at a very basic level, it opens up those kind of conversations maybe in a more natural sense than others. I think from a missional perspective, I have noticed in my work with CAP that people are really open to chatting about stuff, whether or not they agree with us or not. And I've only ever had, in the 4 years I've done this job, I offer to pray with everyone that we meet. I've only ever had one person deny it. And they've ended up being baptised at a later date. So in that sense...
So you still got them.
Yeah, absolutely. But in that sense, I think that's really opened my eyes to the fact that it's not that just because our community doesn't come to church every week that they're somehow not interested, that there is a part of a lot of people that is intrigued. And in a year where, there has been so much isolation, so many hopes dashed, so many things that people have been looking forward to that haven't happened, actually offering somewhere where there is community and there is hope is something that people aren't going to find elsewhere in the world. And so there's a real kind of unique thing that we carry as the church. And I suppose I just hope and pray that we have boldness to actually go out and be bold enough to kind of share that with people.
I think going back to your first point about being able to drop stuff, I think it's actually a really brave and hard thing sometimes for churches to close, whether it's Christmas or other times. It's really hard sometimes to see something that used to be really fruitful and now maybe isn't so fruitful. It's really hard to let go of that sometimes, and brave as a church to go, okay, right, that time is over, and that's okay, because if it's served the purpose for a time, that's brilliant. God was working through it. I guess the question is then, well, what's next? And so not to close something down or to not do something again just because you feel like you should do, but to be able to not do it because there's something else to grab hold of, or something else that requires effort and commitment to do that you wouldn't be able to do if you were still doing the same old. And as someone who's not necessarily a church leader, but I think it's really exciting to be able to see where God is doing things, and for us as a church body to be able to join in and be part of that is far more exciting for me than to just do the same as we always have done.
Yeah.
But I also understand it's really brave to do.
I think that's the key question, is what is God doing? And somehow if we can help our church members and leaders recognise or pick up on what is God doing. I suppose I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, there are things we think, well, we've always done it that way, and that's why it happens at Christmas. And maybe we could use this as an opportunity to not do that, but maybe look at it a different way. Is, well, actually, what is the present need? How has COVID changed our local community? How are we fulfilling the needs of our church members and our mission, our outreach? And answer that question. And it might be 90% of what we used to do is not needed. Even the things we like, you know what I mean? It's easy to think, well, get rid of the things we don't like, but actually there might be things that we do like which are no longer bearing fruit because the world is so different to what it was a year ago or 2 years ago. And the geography of where people are going or not going because we're now doing things online. So, yeah, it might take us a few Christmases to really understand what that need is, mightn't it?
Yeah. You know, and I'm just reflecting as well that, you know, when we're thinking about Christmas and traditions, and there is something really warm and familiar about traditions, isn't there, that bring us together around something that is meaningful. Yeah. And, you know, I think if traditions have lost their meaning, then we go through the motions, don't we? And we can just uphold them because, like you've just said, or I think Jim maybe said, we do it because we've always done it. Yeah. And then the question is, well, has it lost its meaning? Who is this for? But as families grow and change, new traditions are created, aren't they? Yeah. You know, as families gain new members or relocate, or you know, people have different experiences in families, then our family traditions change, don't they? Yeah. Because our families grow and change, and the church family grows and changes, and so therefore we should anticipate that our church family traditions can change too, and that's a sign of life, isn't it? That's a sign of life and growth, that we have new traditions because we are renewed, we're new, we're alive and we're growing, and I guess that for me is where I would hope that the conversation continues from this session as we kind of come to a bit of an end of our time together. Is where is the life that is springing up that has happened through these lockdown months? What new sense of God with us do we have? How are we as communities changed by this experience that we've had collectively? We've all faced lockdown, haven't we? We've experienced it differently because our circumstances are different, but we've journeyed through a similar pathway, and so we are all changed. So let's look and see what are the new traditions that may come out of this, that have such life about them, that help us to really come together and celebrate Jesus, who is the hope because he is Emmanuel, God with us. There is hope because he's not a distant God who just gives us a set of rules, but he walks with us through the dark days and through the celebrations. And what an amazing thing that is, what a hopeful and joy-filled thing that is. So however we in each of our parishes form our traditions, may it be filled with the hope and the life of Jesus. And that's something worth celebrating, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to finish there. That is the end of our Christmas podcast.
Oh, can I take this jumper off?
Hey, I'm the one that's had the sun on me. The sun shines on the righteous.
Guys, well done. Thank you all for listening along with our podcast series. We've had a great time doing it. Thank you so much to Jono for being here today. And of course to all our guests who've been with us on the journey through these last few weeks. Do remember that if you want to join in the conversation via email, then you can do that at hopepodlancs@gmail.com. If you've got ideas of other things that you'd love to hear a podcast about, then do please drop us an email, and you know, we may find we'll do another series, because this has been good fun, hasn't it?
Yeah.
This one not so much. I might faint. We'll see.
Jim might not be here.
I might not be here.
We need some humour, Jim. I've got a Christmas joke. Can you
Oh,
do a
there
Christmas
we
joke?
go.
Finish
Just to
us off
finish
with a
Christmas
joke.
It's not a good joke. It's a homemade joke, and everyone that knows me will think, no, David, don't do it, but I'm going to do it. Okay, imagine you get to the gates of heaven, Okay. And maybe it's St. Peter's there or the angels. What do you think their favourite carol is that they sing in heaven? Have a think about it. What's their favourite carol? No hell, no hell, no hell, no hell. Come on.
Oh, Damien,
worth a little
that's
bit of a laugh,
such a
isn't it?
dad joke.
Definitely nicking that joke.
Well, I think we'll end on that Christmas cracker. And we will hope to see you again in the new year, maybe. We will see. Thank you.
Bye-bye.